Do you ever load up a game of DMZ and you spawn in the most random area and you don't even know if it's good or not? You see, DMZ has a lot of areas that can offer some crazy good loot, but at the cost of fighting some pretty difficult enemies. This guide contains my personal favorite spots to loot whenever I need to recollect some goodies in my DMZ endeavors. Some of them are more well known than others and can be more of a challenge than others. So use your judgment throughout the video and choose the one that's right for you. Sound good? Let's get into it. Starting with my personal favorite is the Al Mazrah City high-rise office building. If you saw my last video where I covered 20 tips and tricks for DMZ, you might recognize this place. Now I know Al Mazrah City is kind of threatening sometimes because everyone loves to come up here during the game for lots of reasons. Whether they want challenges done or just want to visit high-rise, it's a pretty popular place. But for some reason, it doesn't matter how late I show up to the office building, it's almost never looted. And here's the thing, you aren't going to be getting weapons and armor in here. This is a valuables hotspot, as I like to call it. The cubicles in the office have probably around 15 plus computer towers and can be looted and have the chance to contain encrypted hard drives or graphics cards or any other valuable parts that I may not have discovered yet. Graphics cards can be sold for 16,000 at a buy station, and encrypted hard drives go for 5k at the time of recording, so there's some easy money to be made around here. A couple of things to note about this place is that there's normally a bunch of armored guys up here that will bury you if you're under geared, but if you play DMZ normally, then I think you understand what I'm saying. Also, it can be a little bit annoying to get up to the office, but I'll show you a few easy ways to get up. The fastest way I get up is just by using one of the rappel ropes that are on like every side of the building, the little yellow ones. It brings you straight up to the floor and you can just enter through the window. You could also take the elevator or the stairs from the bottom floor. And finally, after you've looted the office, check if the light helicopter is outside because it can help if you need to escape. Although that's also going to be surrounded by enemies if it did spawn there. The next spot is a somewhat well-known hidden gem, if that makes sense. I wanted to include the Burger Town restaurant in Al Mazrah City, considering it's right below the offices that I just showed off. This is yet again another spot that's good for money and valuables. All of the cash registers and fridges, you can actually come away with well over 10,000 from this one little place. I've also found gold bars and golden skulls just sitting here before. For what reason you'd have a gold bar sitting at Burger Town, I don't know, but I'll take it. Definitely come through here if you do visit the office building. I totally recommend it. Our next spot is one that will actually have real loot this time and not just valuables. Have you ever been playing DMZ or Modern Warfare 2 and you just want to snooze for a bit? The Rohan Oil sleeping quarter buildings are the place to be. I love going here because there's so many of these 2 to 3 story buildings with lockers, first aid boxes, duffel bags, and PCs, which literally contains just about everything that you could ever need. This location is very underrated and I hope it stays that way because like I said, I actually love coming here. And a few things to note, Rohan is big and has a lot of bots everywhere, so you can easily get trapped inside one of the buildings and surrounded by them. It happens and it's annoying. Of course, these little buildings aren't the only good spots here. Rohan Oil as a whole is pretty solid, but just listing a POI and saying go there wouldn't be very nice of me to do. Also, depending on what time of the game you're here during, the train does come right through the center of Rohan, which we all know how good the train is. And that actually kind of brings me to the next spot. I was going to include the train on the list, but after the most recent update, there's a bug with the movement of the train. When you're opening any of the crates or anything lootable on the train, the menu closes instantly because there's an issue with the movement tracking properly, so you literally can't have the crate open for more than like a second before it closes again. Obviously, this is eventually going to be fixed, but for right now, I'm just staying off the train because it's really annoying. Now, I couldn't make up one of these videos without including probably the most well-known and broken spot in the game, Hotel 302 in Salwa Village. I gotta be honest, I don't have any idea how or why they haven't covered up the skylight entrance. It's been there since the start of DMZ, and they didn't even bother to patch it after the Season 1 Reloaded update. Considering how good the room actually is for loot, it's basically cheating to not use a key. If you're unfamiliar with this room, I'll put a pinpoint on the map to show you exactly where it is, but basically, you just want to climb to the roof using a ladder on either side of the building, then make your way over to the open skylight window thing, and you can literally just jump straight down without needing a key. Here, you can find a golden desert eagle on the floor, some crazy valuable items, and a few various crates to loot as well. Seeing as this obviously isn't patched, like I said, I'm including it because they clearly don't have intentions of removing it, at least anytime soon, so use and abuse while you can. And a few quick things about this spot is that it's very well known, like I said, and I would only recommend going over here if you spawn next to or decently close to Salwa Village. Otherwise, you'll run into players or the building's already been looted if you don't get there quick enough. Lastly, if you happen to secure the loot in this room, all of the other skylights will lead to other doors, but there isn't nearly as much good stuff, at least that I found, but you can still go in there. Next, if you're confident enough to take on a load of armored enemies, then the Saeed Mall is the place to be. Now, you're probably thinking, hey man, don't I need a key to get in there? Well, that's what I originally thought, but what makes this different from the hotel skylight is that you can actually get in without a key, and it's intended. I discovered this big vent on the side the other day, and I was like, oh, that's cool, but how do you even get up there? If you can find a vehicle that's high enough to climb, then you can actually get into the vent. and it's intended, like I said. The cargo truck is obviously your best bet because it's really tall, and I'm pretty sure it spawns outside of the vent sometimes as well. However, I will warn you that this vent is swarmed with grenade traps, so be sure to defuse them all instead of just running through with no precautions, because I made that mistake. I actually really like that they included this because the keys in this game can be a little difficult to come by sometimes, and the fact that they've included a way to get inside with a little challenge is very cool to me. But enough of that, we're here for the loot, of course. There's no real best spot in here because there's a load of orange rare crates, cash registers, lockers, and anything else that you might find in here from just walking around. I don't think many people know about the vent as of right now because most times I do come through the Saeed Mall, it's never even looted, and I think people just think the only way to get in is with a key. Please do keep in mind though that this is an enemy fortress and it's filled with aimbotting armored fucks that will clap you in the blink of an eye, and just like the vent system, there's grenade traps behind the doors, and some are hidden in the most random spots. I'd honestly try to take out all the enemies before you go searching for loot and then run into a trap. The mall security office is also in here behind a locked door, so if you have a key for that, then this is where it's located. I forgot to mention that there's also another way to get in without a key. It's by climbing up to the roof and parachuting down into the mall, but the reason I don't prefer this method is number one, I don't know how to get onto the roof that easily, and number two, there's enemies up there, so I'd just rather take the vent and get straight into the mall with ease. Either way works, but just do as you please. I'm gonna switch it up a bit for our next spot because it's not actually a spot technically, it's a contract. The radioactive materials contract is surprisingly good for some easy cash or loot, and I never really see anyone doing them. There's also the raid weapon stash contract that I want to include along with this considering they're both contracts. The radioactive materials one requires you to pick up a Geiger counter from a toolbox that's marked somewhere, and then you have to go to different areas to search while using it. You need to look for the number to increase when walking around in the marked area, and eventually you'll find a barrel or something that's hidden in the ground. There can be weapons, valuables, keys, or money in here, and the other great thing is that you can't actually open these if you're a player without a contract. Basically, every time you open one of these bad boys, there's always going to be loot inside of it no matter what. But of course, on top of the rewards from the barrels, you get paid to do the contract, which is a nice little bonus to go along with it. The other contract I mentioned is the raid weapon stash. I think these are a little bit more uncommon than others, but it's literally a cheat code. If you've ever seen the message across your screen that says enemy contractors are securing a stronghold, this is why. The contract marks a large stronghold, it literally unlocks it for you, and it has a massive safe inside with a modded weapon, kill streaks, and money. So you're not only getting that huge safe that I just talked about, but you can also collect the regular stronghold loot that's inside. Rare crates, first aid boxes, and all those delicious goodies that most strongholds contain. I like doing these with other people because, like I said, it marks the stronghold on the map and tells everyone to attack you, and there's a bunch of enemy reinforcements that spawn in during the safe drilling process. If you think you can handle it, then I wouldn't pass up this contract whenever you come near it, because honestly, it's kind of broken. Our next destination is a little weird sometimes. The Seraph Bay, hotel, apartment, resort area, I don't even know what to call it, has a ton of loot to offer here, but the reason I find it weird is because there's times that I come here and every room has an orange crate, and then I come back next game and there isn't a single thing here. So it's either a glitch or it's intended for it to be random, I guess. But my recommendation would just be to come by here early on in the game, and if there's nothing, then just move on. Of course, if there actually is loot, then go ahead and grab it all. There's a kitchen in one of these buildings, and I had one of the funniest interactions in proximity chat of all time.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you one thing. I'm just gonna tell you one thing. You're a bitch. You're a bitch, and I promise you I would punch you in your motherfucking face if you ever came near me.
I would know you wouldn't, bro.
Okay?
Oh, yeah.
You're a bitch. No, I promise you. I promise you.
You can
I've
punch
been
me,
to
but, you know,
prison,
there's
dog,
things
and
called
people like you are bitches.
Now, before we cover the last location, I want to give those of you who watched this video a massive thank you. You all have been really supportive on the guide style videos recently, and it just makes me so much more motivated to upload. Thank you, and I appreciate you. The Satic or Satik Caves, I don't even know how to say it, also known as literal death trap. This place is the definition of high risk, high reward. I want to break down every part of this area because there's so many different places to loot at. Of course, starting on the outside, you have the little village area on the outside, which is similar to the Seraph Bay Water Resort in a sense that it's random if there will be a bunch of crates there or not. But the difference here is that even if the crates don't spawn in, there's still a bunch of duffel bags and other things that you can at least get some decent loot out of. There's also this little kind of Overwatch building around the corner from the village that can have a buy station spawn here, and there's some lockers, crates, you know the drill. If the rare orange crates do happen to spawn during your game, then you could only loot those and you'd be fine to extract. But if you're greedy like me and you want to loot everything, then the cave complex is where it's at. This is a denied area, which is basically a free access fortress, and the danger is at a maximum, but so is the reward. I plan on making a video soon covering the best guns to use in DMZ, but right now I'd say just use a TAC 56 because it actually shreds these guys. The cave complex has a lot of different tunnels and locations, so it's just never-ending loot if you actually manage to survive here. This kind of goes for all the locations, but make sure you have at least 2 self-revives on deck because you're almost guaranteed to go down at some point. It'll probably be to complete BS anyways, but it's always best to be prepared and better safe than sorry. Oh yeah, so you have have the regular cave entrance, right? You can either go in through the village, or there's another tunnel that leads from the other side, which I guess is technically the main entrance. But a little bit down the way, there's a huge hole in the ground. And I'm pretty sure that this is a different location, but it's still part of the complex. Like, I don't think you can access it from within the village portion unless I've just totally missed it. This big hole in the ground not only reminds me of your mom, but also that one location from Fortune's Keep in Warzone 1, if you know what I'm talking about. There's a few rappel ropes so you can obviously get out whenever you need, but this is just a cool spot to collect some loot at as well. And yeah, that brings us to the end. So I've shared what I find to be the best looting locations in Al Mazrah for DMZ. Maybe you knew every single one of these and have a list that's 10 times better than mine, but that's okay with me. I appreciate that you stuck around to watch my guide. It really means a lot to me. I hope all is well for you watching the video, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next video. See you guys later.